Chapter 1. Deep work is valuable. In this chapter, we are going to learn why deep work matters so much in today's world and why it has become more important than ever before. This chapter is about understanding the value of deep work in the modern economy. It explains how the kind of work that requires full focus and deep thinking is becoming rare, but at the same time, it is becoming extremely valuable. The chapter uses real examples from different fields to show that people who do deep work tend to grow faster, earn more respect, and create work that actually stands out. The main idea begins with a simple observation. The world of work has changed a lot because of technology. Machines, software, and digital tools are now doing many tasks that humans used to do. Simple and repetitive work can easily be automated. Because of this, average skills are losing value. What the economy now rewards is the ability to do complex work that requires thinking, learning, and creativity. This is where deep work becomes important. The chapter explains that there are three types of people who are doing especially well in this new economy. The first group is people who can work very well with complex machines and technology. These are people who are comfortable learning difficult tools and systems. They do not fear complexity. Instead, they use it to their advantage. The second group is people who are extremely good at what they do. They are not just good, they are among the best. Because technology allows companies to hire talent from anywhere, the best people get most of the opportunities. The third group is people who own or invest in technology. They benefit because machines now create huge value with very little human effort. After explaining these groups, the chapter asks an important question. How can someone become part of the first two groups, the ones that are actually accessible to most people? The answer is not luck or talent alone. The chapter says that two abilities matter more than anything else. One is the ability to learn hard things quickly. The other is the ability to produce high-quality work at a fast pace. Both of these abilities depend directly on deep work. Deep work is described as focused, distraction-free work that pushes the mind to its limits. It is the opposite of shallow work, which includes tasks like checking emails, attending unnecessary meetings, or scrolling through messages. Shallow work feels busy but does not create much real value. Deep work feels demanding but leads to real progress. The chapter then explains why deep work helps in learning difficult things. Learning complex skills requires intense concentration. When the mind is constantly switching between tasks, it cannot properly absorb new information. Research in psychology shows that real improvement comes from focused practice, where attention is fully on one skill at a time. This kind of practice cannot happen in a distracted state. Deep work creates the mental conditions needed for strong learning. The explanation goes deeper by discussing how the brain works. When a person focuses deeply on a task, the brain strengthens the connections related to that skill. This makes future performance faster and better. When attention is scattered, this strengthening does not happen properly, so learning becomes slow and shallow. This is why people who can concentrate deeply tend to master skills faster than others. The chapter then moves to the second ability, producing high-quality work. It explains that productivity is not just about time spent working, it is about the intensity of focus during that time. High-quality output comes from working with full attention for extended periods. When work is constantly interrupted, performance drops. Even short distractions leave behind mental residue that reduces effectiveness. An example is shared of professionals who produce a lot without working endlessly. Their secret is not longer hours, but deeper focus. They batch important tasks into long, uninterrupted sessions. During this time, they avoid emails, messages, and meetings. This allows them to work at a much higher level than those who multitask all day. The chapter also addresses a common misunderstanding. Some people point to successful leaders who seem constantly busy and distracted, yet still do well. The chapter explains that this does not mean deep work is unnecessary. These roles are very specific. High-level executives often act as decision-makers rather than creators. Their value comes from quick judgment based on experience, not from deep focus on one task. For most other professions, deep work remains essential. Another misunderstanding is the belief that being busy means being productive. The chapter explains that in many jobs it is hard to measure real output. Because of this, people use visible busyness as a signal of productivity. They reply quickly to emails, attend many meetings, and stay constantly connected. These actions look productive, but often reduce the ability to do meaningful work. The chapter also explains why modern workplaces often discourage deep work without realizing it. Open offices, constant messaging, and social media expectations all break focus. These systems are easier in the short term, but harmful in the long run. They exist not because they are better, but because they are easy and their costs are hard to measure. In real life, these ideas apply to almost any knowledge-based profession. Whether someone is a student, writer, developer, designer, or analyst, the ability to focus deeply gives a strong advantage. Someone who can learn faster and produce better work will stand out even if they work fewer hours. Deep work allows a person to move from average performance to exceptional performance. The chapter encourages a shift in thinking. Instead of measuring work by how busy it looks, it should be measured by the value it creates. Instead of fearing silence and focus, they should be protected. Deep work is not just a habit, it is a skill that can be trained and improved over time. The chapter ends with a calm reflection. Deep work is not the only skill that matters, and it is not required in every job. But in a world full of distractions, it has become one of the most powerful advantages a person can develop. Those who learn to focus deeply will find it easier to learn, create, and grow in a rapidly changing economy. Let's talk about Chapter 2, Deep Work is Rare. In this chapter, we are going to learn why deep work, even though it is highly valuable, has become uncommon in modern work life. The chapter explores how everyday work culture slowly pushes people away from focused thinking and replaces it with constant distraction. This chapter is mainly about understanding the environment in which most people work today. The author explains that modern workplaces are designed in a way that makes deep focus difficult. Open offices, constant messages, quick emails, and social media expectations all create an atmosphere where attention is always being pulled in many directions. Instead of long, quiet time to think, workdays are broken into small fragments. One of the first ideas discussed is the open office culture. Many companies believe that open spaces improve teamwork and creativity. People can talk easily, share ideas quickly, and feel more connected. On the surface, this sounds positive, but in reality, open offices make concentration harder. Even small noises, movement, or nearby conversations can interrupt thinking. The brain reacts to these distractions even when a person tries to ignore them. As a result, deep focus becomes rare. Another important idea is the rise of instant communication. Email, messaging apps, and internal chat tools are now expected to be checked constantly. Quick responses are often seen as a sign of being responsible and productive. However, every message pulls attention away from meaningful work. Even short interruptions can break focus and increase the time needed to finish a task. The chapter explains that frequent switching between tasks lowers overall quality and efficiency. The chapter also talks about the pressure to stay active on social media. Writers, journalists, and professionals are often encouraged to share updates online. While this increases visibility, it also creates distraction. Serious thinking, research, and careful writing need long periods of quiet focus. Social media works in the opposite way. It rewards quick reactions and frequent posting. This clash makes deep work harder to sustain. A key question raised in the chapter is why organizations allow this to happen if deep work is so valuable. The answer lies in measurement. It is easy to measure how many emails were sent or how fast someone replied. It is very hard to measure the value of focused thinking or long-term problem solving. Because deep work results are not immediately visible, they are often ignored. This leads to the idea of a measurement gap. Many important activities in knowledge work do not produce instant, clear results. Because managers cannot easily track the value of deep work, they focus on visible activity instead. This creates a workplace where being busy looks more important than doing meaningful work. Another concept explained is the principle of least resistance. When people are unsure what actions truly create value, they choose what feels easiest in the moment. Answering emails, attending meetings, and staying available require less effort than planning focused work. Over time, this behavior becomes normal. Even if it reduces quality, it feels comfortable and safe. Meetings are another example discussed. Regular meetings are often scheduled to show progress or coordination, but too many meetings break the day into small pieces. This leaves no uninterrupted time for deep thinking. Meetings survive not because they are always effective, but because they are easy to organize and give the feeling of productivity. The chapter also explains how busyness becomes a substitute for real productivity. In jobs where success is unclear, people use visible activity to prove their value. Sending many emails, attending many meetings, and responding quickly creates the appearance of hard work. But appearance does not always equal impact. Deep work often looks quiet and slow from the outside, even though it creates the most value. This misunderstanding is common. Many people believe that if they are always active, they must be productive. In reality, meaningful progress often comes from fewer tasks done with full focus. The chapter emphasizes that knowledge work is not factory work. Value comes from thinking, creating, and solving problems, not from constant motion. Another reason deep work is rare is the strong belief that technology is always good. New tools are often accepted without questioning their side effects. If something is modern or digital, it is assumed to be necessary. This mindset discourages people from stepping back and asking whether these tools actually improve the quality of work. The chapter shows how this belief becomes an ideology. Social media, constant connectivity, and online presence are treated as essential. Questioning them can feel outdated or wrong. As a result, deep work, which requires limits and focus, is seen as old-fashioned. The chapter also makes an important clarification. Deep work is not required in every role. Some jobs depend on quick decisions and constant communication. High-level executives often operate this way. Their value comes from responding to many inputs and making fast judgments. For these roles, distraction is part of the job. However, the chapter warns against using these exceptions as excuses. Most people do not work in roles that demand constant interruption. Many jobs benefit greatly from focus, even if current habits suggest otherwise. Just because a workplace is noisy or busy does not mean it must be that way. The chapter highlights studies where reduced connectivity improved results. When people were allowed to disconnect at certain times, they produced better work and felt more satisfied. Clients did not suffer, and outcomes improved. This shows that many assumptions about constant availability are false. Overall, the chapter explains that deep work is rare not because it is ineffective, but because modern work culture makes distraction easier and more visible. Lack of clear measurement, comfort with busyness, and blind trust in technology all contribute to this problem. These ideas matter because they explain a hidden conflict. The work that creates the most value requires focus, but the environment pushes towards distraction. Understanding this conflict is the first step towards change. Without awareness, it is easy to blame oneself instead of the system. A common misunderstanding is thinking that deep work is only for creative people or academics. The chapter shows that focus is valuable in many fields. Anyone who learns complex skills or produces high-quality output benefits from deep work. Another misunderstanding is believing that constant availability equals teamwork. True collaboration does not require non-stop interruption. Structured communication and clear boundaries often work better. In real life, these ideas apply to how workdays are designed. Small changes like fewer meetings, scheduled focus time, and controlled communication can restore depth. Even short periods of uninterrupted work can improve quality. The chapter ends with a calm reminder. Deep work may be rare, but it is not impossible. The systems that discourage it are based on habits and beliefs, not unchangeable rules. With intention and clarity, focus can be rebuilt even in a distracted world.
Let's talk about Chapter 3, Deep Work is Meaningful. In this chapter, we're going to learn why deep work is not just useful for career growth, but also meaningful at a human level, and why focused effort gives a deeper sense of satisfaction than distracted work. This chapter is about the idea that deep work does not only create better results, it also creates a better experience of working. The author explains that humans naturally feel more fulfilled when they are fully engaged in a challenging task. Deep work connects effort, skill, and purpose in a way that shallow work never can. The chapter explores meaning from a psychological, professional, and personal angles. One main idea of the chapter is that humans are wired to find meaning in depth. When attention is fully placed on one demanding task, the mind enters a state where effort feels worthwhile. This state is not about comfort or ease, it is about being stretched just enough to stay engaged. When skills are used at their limit, work stops feeling empty and starts feeling valuable. This applies to writing, coding, research, design, or any work that requires thinking. The chapter draws on research from psychology to explain this effect. It explains the idea of flow, a mental state where a person is completely absorbed in what they're doing. In flow, distractions fade, time feels different, and effort feels natural. Deep work makes flow possible because it removes interruptions and allows sustained focus. Shallow work, on the other hand, constantly breaks attention and prevents this state from forming. Another important idea is that meaning does not come from what the task looks like from outside. It comes from how deeply a person engages with it. Even work that seems ordinary can feel meaningful if it is done with full attention and care. At the same time, work that looks impressive can feel empty if it is fragmented and rushed. The quality of attention matters more than the status of the task. The chapter also explains that deep work creates pride in craftsmanship. When someone works deeply, they are more aware of quality. They notice small details. They care about doing the work well. This leads to better results and a stronger connection to the work itself. Over time, this builds self-respect. People who regularly do deep work can point to clear outcomes and say, "This was done well." The author contrasts this with shallow work, which often feels busy but empty. Answering emails, attending constant meetings, and reacting to messages may fill the day, but it rarely creates a sense of achievement. Shallow work is often driven by urgency instead of importance. At the end of such days, there is little to feel proud of, even if the day was exhausting. Why do these ideas matter so much today? The chapter explains that modern work environments push people away from depth. Constant connectivity creates the illusion that responsiveness equals value, but this behavior slowly erodes meaning. When attention is always divided, work starts to feel mechanical and draining. Over time, people feel disconnected from what they produce. Deep work offers a way out of this problem. It restores a clear link between effort and outcome. When someone spends focused time solving a problem or creating something useful, the result feels earned. This sense of earned progress is a major source of work satisfaction. It reduces burnout and increases long-term motivation without relying on external rewards. The chapter also addresses a common misunderstanding. Many people believe that meaning comes from passion alone. They think they must first feel inspired before doing focused work. The chapter challenges this idea. It suggests that passion often follows mastery, not the other way around. When people get better at something through deep effort, they start to enjoy it more. Meaning grows as skill grows. Another misunderstanding is the idea that deep work is only for creative or academic roles. The chapter explains that depth can exist in many professions. A programmer debugging complex code, a teacher designing a lesson, or a manager thinking through a difficult decision can all experience deep work. The key factor is not the job title, but the level of focus and challenge involved. The chapter also warns against confusing busyness with meaning. Being busy can feel important, but it rarely feels meaningful. Meaning requires presence. It requires staying with a task long enough to understand it deeply. When work is constantly interrupted, it never reaches this level. Over time, this creates a sense of restlessness and dissatisfaction. In real life, these ideas apply in practical ways. Creating regular time for deep work can change how work feels. Even a few hours of focused effort each day can lead to better output and a stronger sense of purpose. This does not require perfection or complete isolation. It requires intentional limits on distraction and a clear choice to value depth. The chapter also suggests that meaning increases when people measure progress by quality instead of visibility. Instead of asking how many messages were answered, it is more useful to ask what meaningful problem was solved. This shift in measurement changes how workdays are structured and how success is defined. Over time, people who practice deep work tend to build a stronger professional identity. They are not defined by constant availability, but by their ability to produce valuable work. This identity is more stable and more satisfying. It does not depend on immediate feedback or external validation. The chapter ends with a calm reflection on the role of depth in a good working life. Deep work is not just a productivity strategy, it is a way to make work feel worth doing. In a distracted world, choosing depth is a way to protect meaning. It allows people to connect effort with value and attention with purpose. This connection is what turns work from something that drains energy into something that quietly builds it.
Let's talk about Rule 1: Work deeply. In this chapter, we're going to learn a clear idea of what deep work means and why it is placed as the first and most important rule. This chapter focuses on the idea that deep work is the ability to focus without distraction on work that is mentally demanding. It explains that such work creates real value, improves skills, and is hard to replace. The chapter sets the base for all other rules by making it clear that without depth, meaningful progress becomes difficult. The main idea is simple. Shallow work includes tasks like constant emails, meetings, and quick replies. These tasks feel busy but do not create strong results. Deep work, on the other hand, requires full attention for a long time. It helps in learning difficult things faster and producing high-quality output. The chapter explains that modern work culture often rewards speed and visibility, but real growth comes from depth. These ideas matter because the economy now values people who can do rare and valuable work. Machines can handle routine tasks, but focused thinking, problem-solving, and creative effort still depend on humans. Deep work allows a person to stay relevant and skilled in a fast-changing world. A common misunderstanding is that deep work means working longer hours. The chapter clears this confusion. It is not about time spent, but about the quality of focus. Another misunderstanding is that being constantly available is productive. In reality, constant switching reduces thinking quality. In real life, deep work applies to writing, coding, learning new skills, research, and planning. Any task that needs clarity benefits from uninterrupted focus. Even short but fully focused sessions can produce better results than long, distracted hours. The chapter ends with a calm reminder. Deep work is not a trend or a trick. It is a skill that needs practice and protection. Those who build this habit slowly create stronger work and clearer thinking over time.
Let's talk about Part 2, Rule 2. Embrace boredom. In this chapter, we are going to learn why feeling bored is not a problem to escape from, but a skill that needs to be trained for better focus and deeper thinking. This chapter is about the relationship between focus and boredom. The main idea is simple. The ability to concentrate deeply does not come from always being busy or entertained. It comes from training the mind to stay calm and steady even when there is nothing exciting happening. Most people today try to avoid boredom at all costs. The moment the mind feels restless, they reach for a phone, open an app, or look for some quick input. This habit slowly weakens the ability to focus. The chapter explains that focus works like a muscle. If the mind is used to constant stimulation, it becomes uncomfortable with silence and slow moments. Deep work requires long periods of attention without distraction. If boredom is always avoided, the mind never learns how to stay with one task. Embracing boredom means allowing the mind to sit without stimulation and not reacting immediately to every urge for distraction. These ideas matter because modern life trains people to expect constant rewards. Notifications, messages, and endless content teach the brain to seek quick pleasure. This makes deep thinking harder over time. Without realizing it, people lose control over their attention. A common misunderstanding is thinking that boredom means laziness or wasted time. In reality, boredom is a training ground. It teaches patience and mental control. Another mistake is believing that focus can exist without discipline. Focus grows only when the mind is trained deliberately. In real life, this idea applies in small moments. Waiting in a line without checking the phone, sitting quietly after finishing a task, allowing the mind to be still instead of jumping to entertainment. These moments slowly rebuild attention strength. The chapter ends with a calm reminder. A focused mind is not built by filling every empty space. It is built by learning to stay present, even when nothing exciting is happening.
Let's talk about Part 2, Rule 3, Quit Social Media. In this chapter, we're going to learn a clear and practical idea about why social media should not be a default part of daily work and thinking. The chapter does not say that social media is evil. It focuses on the cost it creates when it is used without intention. This chapter is mainly about attention. Social media platforms are designed to pull attention again and again. Each notification, scroll, and update breaks focus into small pieces. Deep and meaningful work needs long and calm thinking. Social media makes this kind of thinking very difficult. Even short checks create mental noise that stays for a long time. Another important idea is that most people use social media without knowing what value they get from it. The chapter explains that many tools feel useful because they are popular, not because they actually help. Being active online often creates a false sense of productivity. Time feels busy, but real output stays low. These ideas matter because focus is becoming more valuable than ever. Skills that need learning, problem solving, and quality output require uninterrupted time. When social media fills every break, the brain never fully rests or concentrates. Over time, this weakens the ability to think deeply.
A common misunderstanding is that quitting social media means cutting all connections. The chapter makes it clear that selective use is the key. Tools should serve goals, not habits. If a platform does not strongly support personal or professional goals, it is better to remove it. In real life, this idea applies by setting clear rules. Social media can be limited to fixed times or removed completely during work periods. Communication does not stop, but attention becomes protected. The chapter ends with a simple reflection. Focus grows where distractions are reduced. When attention is treated as something valuable, work becomes clearer, calmer, and more meaningful.
Let's talk about Part 2, Rule 4, Drain the Shallows. In this chapter, we're going to learn a clear idea about why shallow work slowly eats up focus and how it quietly blocks deep and meaningful work. This chapter is about understanding shallow work and learning why it needs to be reduced on purpose. Shallow work means tasks that do not need much thinking. These tasks are easy to repeat, easy to copy, and often feel urgent but are not truly important. Examples include constant email checking, quick replies, routine meetings, and small tasks that fill the day without creating real value. The chapter explains that shallow work is not always bad, but when it takes over most of the day, it becomes dangerous for focus and progress. The main idea of this chapter is simple. Deep work needs time, energy, and mental space. Shallow work competes for all three. If shallow tasks are allowed to spread freely, deep work never gets the chance to happen. This is why the rule says to drain the shallows. It does not say to remove them fully, but to limit them strictly so they do not control the schedule. The chapter explains that many people confuse being busy with being productive. A full calendar and a fast reply time can look impressive, but they do not always mean meaningful work is happening. Shallow tasks give quick satisfaction because they are easy to finish and give instant feedback. Deep work feels harder because progress is slow and results take time. Because of this, people naturally drift toward shallow work unless they set clear limits. These ideas matter because modern work environments reward visibility. Responding quickly, attending meetings, and staying available all day are seen as signs of commitment. But deep work is often invisible while it is happening. The chapter explains that if someone does not protect deep work time, the work that truly builds skill and value slowly disappears. Over time, this leads to stagnation, stress, and a feeling of constant busyness without real growth. A common misunderstanding discussed in the chapter is the belief that shallow work is harmless. Many assume that small interruptions do not matter. The chapter explains that even small tasks break concentration and reduce the mental energy needed for deep thinking. Another misunderstanding is thinking that shallow work can be done alongside deep work. In reality, switching between the two reduces the quality of deep work and increases mental fatigue. The chapter also addresses the fear that reducing shallow work will make someone look less responsive or less useful. It explains that this fear is often exaggerated. Most shallow tasks expand simply because no limits exist. When clear boundaries are set, work still gets done, but in a more controlled and intentional way. In real life, applying this rule means measuring how much time is spent on shallow tasks and setting a strict limit for them. This could mean deciding in advance how many hours per day are allowed for emails, meetings, and routine tasks. It also means being comfortable with not responding instantly and allowing deeper tasks to take priority. The chapter suggests that deep work should be scheduled first and shallow work should fit into the remaining space, not the other way around.
Draining the shallows is not about rejecting responsibility. It is about choosing where attention goes. When shallow work is controlled, deep work becomes possible again. Skills improve, output quality increases, and work feels more meaningful instead of rushed. The chapter ends with a calm reminder that focus is a limited resource. If it is spent entirely on shallow tasks, nothing important remains. By consciously reducing shallow work, space is created for work that truly matters and has lasting impact.